Hi, everyone. My name is Abby Wilkin, and I am going to be facilitating a panel today with four of our current Brescia University College students. And we are going to have a discussion today about why you might want to choose an all women's university campus. So, if you're not familiar with Brescia, Brescia is the only all women's university currently in Canada. We are an affiliate of Western University College. So there's three affiliates and then main campus. So main campus is co-ed, King's is co-ed, Huron is co-ed, but Brescia University College is our women's only campus for students who are hoping to study in a campus surrounded by successful leaders who are women and are hoping to carry that through into their post-secondary education. So I'm so lucky to have with me four of our current Brescia University College students, and I'm going to go through and introduce them all so you have a little background information about each of them. So we will start with Nicole. Nicole, if you don't mind just giving us a little information about yourself.
Hi, my name's Nicole. I'm a third year here. I started my first year living in residence, and I'm doing a double major in leadership studies and political science.
Great, thank you so much. All right, Sophie.
Sure. Hi, I'm Sophie, and I am a second year Brescia student. I live in residence, and I am studying sociology and criminal justice at Brescia.
Awesome, thank you, Sophie. And Katie?
I'm Katie. I'm a fourth year student at Brescia. I'm studying psychology, but I started off in our business program, which is BMOS at Brescia, which I loved as well. I lived in residence first year and I've been off campus since then.
Thank you so much, Katie. And then lastly, we have Clara with us as well.
Hi, I'm Clara. I am a second year student in the nutrition and dietetics program here at Brescia. I am a local, so I lived at home first year and I'm currently still living at home. And yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Clara. So as you can see, we've got some variation in the programs, also on campus versus off campus students. I completed my undergraduate degree about 4 years ago, a double major in psychology and sociology. I'm from London, so I was off campus as well. So as you can see, yeah, there's a lot of unique students that will come to Brescia from all over Southwestern Ontario and obviously international as well. So we're going to go through, we have some questions that we've had sent to us about an all women's university. We find these are some common questions that students will ask when coming for tours or when we reaching out to admissions officers. So we're going to ask our current students some of these questions, and hopefully it will illustrate why you might want to choose a women's only university and give you some background information on how and what women's only university is and how it works in regards to the larger Western university community. So why don't we start with asking all of our current students why they chose Brescia? I think we'll just start with Nicole again, if you're ready, Nicole.
For sure. So what drew me to Brescia at first was the small community feeling. Being all females, I think everybody has a very small environment, as well as their unique leadership opportunities. So I'm in the leadership program. So they really have courses specific to empowering students and like enabling them to become unique leaders.
Great. Thank you so much, Nicole. We're happy you chose Brescia, all of you. And Sophie, how about you? What was your deciding factor?
So I knew I was coming to Western since about grade 10. I was recruited for the hockey team over at main campus. And closer to my first year, I knew I wanted to attend a smaller university college, well, at Western, obviously. So I figured that Brescia had small class sizes, a beautiful residence. I come from out of province, so to have a beautiful home away from home was super important. And then just to have small class sizes and available faculty and awesome leadership opportunities, both curricular and extracurricular, was what drew me to Brescia.
Great. Thank you so much, Sophie. And excuse me, Katie, how about you tell us why you chose Brescia?
I came to visit Brescia on fall preview day when I was in grade 12 with my parents. And I just found the community feeling, like just being on campus, was really strong. Everyone, like student ambassadors, but also just regular students walking around campus were super friendly and just like really nice and welcoming and wanted to like tell me all about Brescia and why they loved it so much. And that made me feel like it was just going to be a really comfortable, like safe space, especially to live away from home for the first time. Like Clare Hall Res is obviously beautiful, but also just the environment of the people around felt like a community that I really wanted to be a part of.
Great. Thank you, Katie. And Katie, before we move on, what's your hometown?
My hometown is Georgetown.
Okay. And how far?
It's just north of Oakville. It's about 2 hours away.
Okay, great. And then Sophie, you're from out of province. Where are you from?
Yeah, so I live in Regina, Saskatchewan. I'm actually here right now, so
Is it colder in Saskatchewan or colder here?
definitely Saskatchewan. Like all the lakes are frozen, so it's really cold. There's a couple feet of snow. It's pretty cold.
So you're happy to be here right now.
Absolutely.
And then Nicole, I'll jump back to you quickly before we move on to Clara. And then what's your hometown, Nicole?
For sure, Caledonia, Ontario. So it's about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on the day from London.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Nicole. Okay, Clara, why don't you finish us off? And if you don't mind telling us why you chose Brescia, and then we'll get you to tell us your hometown as well.
Sure. So to start off, my hometown is London, Ontario, born and raised, been here my whole life. I knew I wanted to go to Western from a young age as well, just because obviously living in London, having a lot of interaction with Western as a kid, you had events at, Western and their rec center. I took swimming lessons there, but I always thought that main campus was slightly intimidating. And when I found out about Brescia and I found out about the nutrition program and how it was still a science program, I thought that it was really interesting that it was all women's, and I really loved the idea that it was an all women's university that were really encouraging women in STEM to thrive. And I thought that that would be an environment where I would feel really comfortable being like the best version of myself. And I thought that I would definitely get the most out of my university experience if I was surrounded by other like-minded women who were ambitious in the STEM world.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I can definitely relate to that coming from London and feeling that a large university can be extremely overwhelming. So, not only is Brescia a smaller campus like the other affiliates, but it's the women's only campus. So, you kind of get both of those perks as well, which is great. So, thank you all so much for explaining kind of why you chose Brescia and the programs that you're taking and a little background information about yourselves so that everyone can get a good feel for the kind of students that choose Brescia. Really, what after everyone kind of went through and explained why they chose Brescia, you can see that it really has nothing to do with it being a women's only campus. There's a lot of other factors that tie in. Um, so we'll talk about once you came to Brescia, what you thought of it being a women's only campus and how you found that that was really integrated into the studies, into the campus, into all those extracurriculars that you participate in. So for our first question, Nicole, I'm going to pick on you. How have you felt since you came to Brescia that you have really experienced that it is a women's only campus? How is it integrated into your day-to-day?
For sure. I think being at Brescia, you're really empowered in class when you use your voice. Your professors and people in your classes are really there to further your opinions and your ideas. Everybody hears your goals or your visions, and they're just there to support. They see the disadvantages that a lot of women are given, and they really just want to help you push that bit further to help you succeed. Again, professors, students, faculty, anybody really on the Brescia campus.
Great. Yeah. Do you think that you felt the change already since you've been a Brescia student?
Oh, definitely. I think I've even just become so much more involved because I feel like I'm able to, and I feel like I'm really supported. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, I'm so happy to hear that. Thank you so much, Nicole. So how about we move to Sophie for our next question? So Sophie, do you know what you want to do when you're done Brescia, or are you just kind of navigating through and you'll figure it out later?
Yeah, I would definitely go with option B there. I'm just kind of, in school, and I think throughout my time so far at Brescia and hopefully into the future, just by different involvements and meeting new people, which is, just a great thing to do. I think maybe hopefully doors will sort of open and I'll have an idea of what I want to do. I think definitely postgraduate studies for sure is something I'm really interested in down the road. I would really like to actually go to Europe and play hockey for a couple of years after I graduate and just play a couple more years. But I definitely feel so much closer to deciding what I want to do and knowing what I want to do than before I came to Brescia.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm sure it will change many times over the future, and hopefully you'll get involved in a lot of different cool stuff throughout the course of your life. So you mentioned maybe Europe, or you mentioned maybe doing like a master's or post grad. Um,
Yeah.
so coming from an all women's university, how do you think that you will benefit in the future? Like why do you think that they might select you for a post grad program because you came from Brescia? Or why do you think you'll succeed in Europe because you went to Brescia?
I think one thing that Brescia has really helped me with is instilling, confidence in myself and in my abilities and who I am as a person. And I think that confidence can carry over to many different areas of your life, whether it be professionally, personally. And I think just having confidence and the belief in yourself as well as your peers and your classmates, I think is something really unique to Brescia and something that I feel like I have an advantage of for sure. Hopefully, when I graduate as well and I enter the workforce.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Sophie. We know that you will do great things no matter what. And Katie, we're going to come to you next. So, you obviously have friends that don't go to Brescia, as I'm sure all of you do. So, is there anything that you feel that you've gained as a Brescia student that you were able to transfer over to other people?
I think that Brescia has a really good culture of women supporting each other. When I said I was going to all girls university, a lot of people would like react somewhat negatively to that and like they weren't sure and like, oh, are you sure about something you want to do? But I found that when I got there, the environment is so just like everyone is just like lifting each other up like all the time. I've never had like a negative experience. It never feels like competitive, which I think it sometimes does in other like bigger universities. You get into this like academically like competitive mindset, but the energy at Brescia is so much more just like encouraging each other, helping each other. Like, like I'll send you notes if you miss class, no worries. Like, let's like help each other out and like encourage each other to like do really great things. So I think that that's something that I've definitely tried to take into my other relationships with women outside of the Brescia community of just like, and people in general outside of the Brescia community of just like lifting each other up and trying to encourage each other to like succeed really well and like looking out for one another. Cause I think that's something that the Brescia community has that's really an asset.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. That's great. And I think that people really look up to others who are helpful, and it doesn't have to be a competition. Everyone can succeed in their own unique ways. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Katie. So, Clara, would you explain to me if a student have you ever had an experience where you had to tell someone that you went to an all women's university and you kind of felt judged by that?
Oh, definitely all the time. I find that it's one of those things that it just never goes away. It doesn't stop after first year because you're just continuously meeting new people. They ask you where you go, and I'm not ashamed. So I do say Brescia rather than Western. And they ask, and they're like, oh, is that like the one? And I'm like, yes, it is. But at the end of the day, their initial reaction is just based on the fact that they're not knowledgeable about what Brescia has to offer, not because they really think that, the women's only is a bad thing. Once you start telling them about the opportunities that you are given at Brescia as even just a first year student are so incredible that they're genuinely shocked. You talk about, professors who genuinely care and, you know, the job opportunities too and everything and the extracurricular, like Sophie was saying, whether it's in class, outside of class, like the leadership opportunities, and they start to come around once you start hyping it up a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And we always talk about manifestation, and what you manifest and what you get involved in is only going to reflect on your future and what you continue to get involved in and how you evolve on your own. So that's great. Thank you so much, Clara. So let's see. We've got another question here. So how do you find, we'll bring this one up to you, Nicole. It's been a while since we've heard from you, if that's okay. So how do you find your participation on campus and in class has been impacted while going to an all-women's university? Or has it?
Yes, it's definitely been impacted. I would say in my first semester, probably a first year, I was very quiet, reserved in class, and I didn't really participate in anything. But then, as soon as I kind of got the vibe of Brescia, kind of understood more about the students, I started participating in class all the time because I knew whether I was right or wrong. Nobody was there to judge anything. And same with extracurriculars. I applied to be a SOF in after my first semester, and that absolutely changed everything. From there, I went to council, then I played on the flag football team, and I just haven't stopped doing things since then. I think once you get involved at one thing at Brescia, you're kind of in a trap. You realize how exciting it is and how like supportive everybody else is on the campus. Your whole life just kind of flips around once you realize that after Brescia.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just that initial push that you need, and then you're kind of set to go on your way because there really is so much to get involved in, right?
Mhm.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much, Nicole. Okay, Sophie. So since you are our varsity hockey athlete, do you mind explaining to us a little bit? Obviously, you're on the women's hockey team, so it's a women's only team, but just being involved in a varsity sport on main campus, which is a co-ed campus, as a Brescia student, how can you explain just kind of how those are intertwined and if you notice um, any differences when you go over to main campus, it being co-ed versus Brescia?
Yeah, for sure. So I know, um, sorry, I lost my train of thought. I think being able to access both main campus and all the things main campus has to offer, in addition to all of Brescia's amazing resources, I think it really is the best of both worlds. And I notice when I go on to, to main campus, I know some of my teammates when we're, getting ready for practice and we're talking about our day in school, it can be a bit, I hear their struggles, in terms of getting in contact with a professor or a TA, or, maybe having group members that aren't pulling their weight in projects and, very challenging exams and things like that. And it's, almost surprising to me just in the sense when I hear those things, because I've never really experienced any of them before being a Brescia student and taking the majority of my classes at Brescia. I know when I email a professor, I'm not afraid and I know I'm going to get a response. And, I think, so maybe there's just a difference in terms of the availability and the willingness to help out and support students. I definitely see a difference in that for sure. And I think that would be the biggest difference that I have spotted so far.
Yeah, no, that's a great one. And it kind of reminds me of what Katie was speaking to earlier when you mentioned that just the support amongst students too. I think
Mhm.
that as a Brescia student, I'm sure you can all agree that it just becomes kind of ingrained in your day-to-day studies. And it takes like having a conversation with a student from another campus to really see how positively impacted we are as Brescia students. Not that they're negatively impacted, but we just have like all those extra support. So it's so great.
Yeah, yeah, I know, like, sometimes I'll bring a teammate to Brescia for lunch or, we'll come study together and, after I try to, bring all my teammates at some point. So, it's the common theme after they all leave is, like you said hi to so many people, you knew everybody, everybody knew you. Also, the food is amazing. But I think, yeah, just everyone is so surprised at the community. I think students who don't go to Brescia, when they see it for the first time, they really believe it. And I think that being an ambassador is an opportunity to really represent Brescia and advocate for all of the amazing things that it does for its students.
Absolutely. The Mercado is not even fair game. I feel bad even bringing that up because it's just game over once you show them our cafeteria, right? Oh, well, thank you so much, Sophie. So I'm kind of, as we go through, trying to debunk some of the myths that I find come up and some of the misinterpretations that people have in regards to Brescia. So it's perfect. You're illustrating that perfectly for me. So Katie, how about when someone says to you, I know I got this all the time. I have 4 brothers. One of my brothers went to King's. I'm the only girl. So you get a lot of these questions when you say, I go to Brescia, women's only campus. Um, so as far as students who might say, can guys even come to your campus? What would you say to that? Or how would you explain how the male integration into Brescia works?
I would say, yes, of course, male students are totally welcome at Brescia. On a regular weekday in the Mercato, often like almost half of the students eating in the Mercato are male students who've come up from Ivy or main campus, or they have a class at Brescia, because male students can take classes at Brescia. They just can't be enrolled as a Brescia student. They're also totally welcome to come visit. Like right now, I think Res has no guests because of COVID, but when there isn't a pandemic, male students are like, you're welcome to have male guests in residence. You see male students studying in the library, like hanging out. Like I brought like tons of male friends up to Brescia, usually for lunch because they want to have the Mercato food. So yeah, like it's the kind of like to be enrolled as a Brescia student, you do have to be a female student. So the majority of people on campus are female, and that's kind of like the base. But male students are totally welcome to like come take a class, like eat lunch, hang out, study in the library. There's a lot of integration with like male students. It's not like you move up to Brescia and you like never see a boy again. Like
No, that's perfect. Thank you. So that was a great explanation of kind of how it works. So just to summarize, Brescia students can still take 40% of their classes at another campus. So you can still take classes with males, and the same for them. Students at other campuses can still come up to Brescia and take 40% of their classes off campus. So there's definitely fewer males on our campus, but they're definitely there. Which brings me to my next question. Clara, do you have any male friends that took classes at Brescia with you or in general?
Actually, I do have quite a few male friends who took some of the first year foods and nutrition courses as their science credit for main campus. So I actually know quite a few people from main campus who took the foods and nutrition class at Brescia as their science credit. Um, and yeah, they would just come up, they would meet me up there, and we would head to class. Sometimes we would grab lunch, sometimes we wouldn't. And it was very normal. I find that in at almost all of my first year classes, there was at least 1 or 2 guys in there. You know, some males are enrolled in the foods and nutrition program through main campus, so they do have to take a good chunk of their classes at Brescia, such as the mandatory foods and nutrition classes, which only run at Brescia. So yeah, I definitely found that it's only really in some of the upper year courses that are also offered on main campus that you don't see any men.
Great. So on the very first day, I don't know if you can remember this far back, the very first day that your male friends met you for class, or they were texting you, wanting to meet you, what were they saying? Were they nervous about coming to Brescia or?
I definitely think that like initially at first they were a little nervous. They were like, "Is it like okay that I'm here?" And I'm like, and I told them if you're registered in the course, obviously it's okay that you're there. But once you get on the campus, like Katie was saying, there are a lot of guys who choose to study there because it is quiet, it's nice, it's not as much of a, hustle bustle as the, UCC, anything like that. So once you get there and you see that, you're not the only guy, they were way more comfortable. And I definitely find that it's one of those things that if you do choose to just, particularly surround yourself with other women, that's fine. You won't really notice the male presence. However, if you are someone who does enjoy hanging out with guys more, you won't find that that's an obstacle for you at Brescia. I find that the myth is that, you're completely segregating yourself from the other gender. Meanwhile, it's not how it is. If you choose to have male friends, they are more than welcome there, and everybody will do their best to make them feel welcome.
Amazing. That's great. Thank you so much, Clara. I think we can all agree, like we've probably all had friends who have ended up taking a class and after that they in my experience, they love it because they love the small class sizes. I mean, they're not too upset about sitting in a room full of strong leaders who are female. So I agree. I think that it's a good way to have more people come over to our campus and see how great it is as a male and kind of spread the word. Okay, so we'll move back to you, Nicole. So how do you feel at Brescia you become involved in the women's only campus in ways that, or just in general, that you might not have become as involved had you have gone to another campus that was co-ed?
For sure. I think I'm very much of a person who questions everything. And unless I don't feel completely comfortable doing something and I don't feel like I know everything about it, I'm not going to do it.
Mhm.
So for me, the idea of participating in a club on main campus, that's kind of scary for me. There's so many people who could join. I don't know everybody. But at Brescia, when you join a club or you join a team or a council or anything like that, you already go into it knowing a large percentage of the people there, whether it's just from studying or going to the Mercado. So I think it's so much more supportive, and it's definitely more of a community and team oriented than I think it would be than if I participated on main campus, which I have participated on main campus as well. And I think the biggest difference is the sense of community and the sense of team within the group who you're associating yourself with.
Great. Okay, thank you so much, Nicole. All right. So we've got a few more questions here, if you don't mind, ladies. How do you feel, Sophie, that your professors incorporate being at a women's only campus right into the curriculum or right into the classroom in classes that you've had on our campus?
Sure, yeah. I think professors definitely know that maybe perhaps women learners learn best when we are working in small groups in a very interactive setting. So we're, you know, having conversations, we're, stating our viewpoints, and we're, sort of not debating, but just, having a really productive, strong conversation on something.
Mhm.
I think through group projects, we get to work with other people, other students, females most of the time, like-minded to us. So I think by working together and learning how to work together efficiently, and by providing plenty of opportunity to participate in class discussions, I think professors really help students to find their voice. Maybe you're like a shy person. I'm not personally shy, so I'm not sure. But I think just by having us really step outside of our comfort zone and just be ourselves, I think is really powerful, and something that Brescia professors do better than anyone else.
I absolutely agree with that. And you're a sociology student, so I'm sure you've had a class with Dr. K.
Yeah, I am right now. I have sociology of deviance.
Everything you said just reminded me of his classes. I continue to take him because he just incorporated leadership and helping students find their voice so well, and like the small groups. Obviously, all the professors do that, but that's what kind of popped into my mind. So I
Yeah,
absolutely
for
agree with
sure.
everything you
For
said.
sure. Shout out to Dr. K if you're
Shout out to
watching
Dr.
this video.
Thank you so much, Sophie.
For sure.
Okay, so Katie, research shows that women learn differently than men. We kind of brushed on this just with the last question with Sophie. So, for example, discussion based, collaborative classroom environments and first year common experience have been shown to benefit women learners. Have you felt a difference in the learning and teaching that takes place at Brescia compared to the co ed campuses? Maybe a class you've taken, at another campus?
Yeah, I would say, like, I've taken classes at all the campuses. I've taken classes at Huron, Kings, Maine, and obviously at Brescia. And I would say a lot of my Brescia classes incorporate more discussion, or even in classes, I would say just because, first of all, because they're smaller, they lend to more kind of small group discussion. And then because it's a smaller campus and you have kind of more relationships with the other people in your class, I find that when I get put in a small group or even just have a class discussion in a Brescia class, I feel really comfortable talking, because especially as you get into upper years, if you, and you've been in that program all throughout, you're having a lot of overlap of classes with the same people. So you get really comfortable with them and used to them, and you kind of know what their interests are, and you're used to talking to them and interacting with them in class discussion. So it feels really comfortable and like a safe space to share how you're thinking and your beliefs, and you don't feel like everyone's going to judge you if you say something wrong. Whereas at other campuses, I think just because I don't know the other people as well, it's maybe a bit of a larger class. Maybe the professor isn't really trying to incorporate much discussion. It just feels a little bit more like awkward and forced when there is discussion sometimes. But at Brescia, I find I think a big component is that a lot of the students, you've kind of slowly been building up relationships with them through your entire degree. So by the time, especially you get to like third year, fourth year, it's like, oh yeah, I had tons of classes with these people. Like, so it's really comfortable to just like have a discussion and chat with them, and it doesn't feel forced. It's really natural.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I mean, once you do that for 4 years and then you go on to like the workforce, when you get a job, you're going to be in a small group, similar like within the office with people like in a, I don't know, 5-person group like you were at Brescia. So you've had so much practice in a Brescia setting, which is great, that it's obviously going to be so much easier for you to move on with like whatever you decide to do post secondary and truly lead and feel comfortable to be well spoken and lead a discussion like you already have, because you've had that hands-on experience for the past 4 years.
Yeah, you've kind of spent 4 years building like a confidence in those kinds of situations with people that you may know a little bit better, a bit more comfortable with. So now I feel like when I graduate in the spring and I'm kind of thrown into a new work environment, I feel comfortable being in small groups, sharing my opinion, sharing what I think, not worried about people are going to think I'm wrong, because I've kind of built up that confidence at Brescia.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Katie. That was great. And then I think for our last question, Clara, what about any advice that you might have for a student who's thinking of Brescia, but they're not sure about the all women's campus? What advice would you give to them?
The advice I'd give to them is definitely come to Brescia if you have the ability to come to Brescia. I think that's the best possible way to actually see what it's like. We can sit here and talk to you about how amazing it is for hours and hours, but once you come and you actually see it for yourself, not just how beautiful campus is, how great the food is, but once you come and you genuinely experience the environment, like Nicole was saying at the beginning of this, um, it really just it suddenly just clicks in your head what you've been hearing and what you've been seeing for the longest time, and that it's not intimidating and you are uplifted, and you won't be shut out from the opposite gender and stuff like that. I think that the best advice is definitely come and see it, and if not, try and go on the Brescia website and just look at as many videos as you can. Reach out to one of our student ambassadors through the Unibuddy app. We would love to hear from you, and just genuinely try and do as much research about Brescia as you can, to see as many pictures, watch as many videos, interact as much as you possibly can if you aren't able to come to campus, because once you start talking to, a Brescia person, you will instantly feel that connection, just like all of us sitting here did. We are all Brescia grads, graduating soon. So you definitely have to have some sort of engagement to feel what it's really like.
Absolutely. Thank you. I think we can all agree on that. Thank you so much, Clara. And thank you for outlining Unibuddy and some of the different resources we have. I think everyone's on Unibuddy. Nicole, are you on Unibuddy? No, but the other three, Katie, Sophie, Clara, you're all on Unibuddy. Okay, and lots of other student ambassadors. You can get in touch with to ask any specific questions. Just have a general informal conversation about Brescia. Ask whatever you like. So please check that out on our Brescia, through our Brescia website or through Unibuddy. And is there anything else that I didn't cover that anyone would like to add in before we say goodbye for today? I think we covered it all too. I want to thank you all so much. You're all so well spoken, and you just had such great answers and such great information for students and their families. Anyone who's wondering what exactly being a part of a women's only university entails, since we're the only one, we're the ones who have to speak to it. So thank you so much for being a part of this. Everyone's going to be so grateful to watch this video. And for those of you who are watching, again, reach out to us and please come to Brescia for we don't know if we'll be doing an in-person spring break open house, but if we are, please come or come for a tour, and you can really get a feel for exactly what we mean when we say Brescia is such a small, tight-knit community. We would love to have you, and we would love to show you around. So thank you all so much. And please, again, reach out if you have any questions.